Doing some springboard work.
Springboard work, yeah. I'll send you first. You'll get to.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Eye on the Target Radio. It's a fabulous Sunday, and we're ready to go. Ready to talk guns, concealed carry, and absolutely everything that goes with it. So,
Anything that pops into our little head.
oh yeah, well that's your little head, right? We're at the if it's in your head, I'm sometimes scared. We'll just say. We'll just say. So breaking news. There has been a second attempt on former president and presidential candidate Donald Trump's life. And it happened today in Florida with the fact that they hustled the president out and the Secret Service shots were fired. So this is getting
But they
somewhere.
haven't said if they got anybody who was hit or anything.
They're saying no news, no statements, and then so now the real interesting part is, I mean, because this is a sorry state of affairs. We'll start with that. But David Hogg, of the Parkland School fame, David Hogg, he is making anti-President Trump statements to the point of Andrew Pollock, who is Meadow Pollock's father and wrote the book Why Meadow Died about Parkland. Those two are engaged in a social media battle about the fact that David Hogg is calling for someone to do something with Donald Trump, and Andrew Pollock is calling him out for it. So, in your opinion, do you think that somebody saying something derogatory about the president is sufficient to be considered inciting someone, or
When I was a kid, I mean, they used to always say slander, blah blah blah. But otherwise, you still had freedom of speech.
hmm
So you could pretty much say anything you wanted as long as it wasn't a direct threat. Um, so uh, uh, Today things are a little bit weird, but it should follow the same rules. I mean, just because you say something doesn't mean that if someone else does something, it's your fault. It's Everybody should be responsible for their own personal area of.
I mean, yeah, I honestly believe that if they don't outright call for something horrific to happen, if they're just talking trash, then that's a piece of what happens when you run for politics, when you run for office. If you are a model or an actress or something like that, and somebody's talking trash about you, that's a piece of being in the public eye. But if they call for you to be hurt or harmed or one eliminated, then I think that there's something that they potentially can do, should do, want to do, that type of a thing. But I don't think so. I don't think that
Well,
somebody
thing,
says, "Oh, well, you said something mean about somebody, so you need to stop, and you're
there's a
responsible."
very light gray line that you could be on one side or the other of that, and so who you letting judge is what's right. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like when they say that you have to go through a psychological evaluation. Who do you want looking inside of your head to say yes, it's
I,
good or no, it's not? And
yeah, who's gonna? I want the person who's going to do my psychological evaluation to have a psychological evaluation, and I want to be able to see that prior to, because I think you're right on that. Is to one person's crazy is another person's slightly exotic, right? Whatever
well,
that
I
is.
mean, there's you can see that every day when you look at Facebook or anywhere else. I mean, what some people think of as normal or a shortcut of their life is so outlandish to someone else that they couldn't function under those rules.
Well, and I'm probably one of those. I'm on in a lot
Well,
of
we're seeing
cases.
tell you what, we're seeing it with this cat thing that Trump brought up.
Mm,
You think about it. I mean, I lived in the country for a long time, and people eat about anything that they need to. I mean,
Well, not in Americans. Americans,
it
we
ain't like
do
they
not.
go and it ain't like they go and take your pet. But if they
No,
find one loose, you haven't been to deer camp. I've been
we
to deer
don't.
camp. They make a stew on a Friday, and by Monday they put whatever they found in it.
Whatever that is. But no,
They just keep it
Americans.
going.
There's a difference. There is really a difference, a cultural difference across the world. And Americans have a line that they don't. They typically don't eat cute animals.
Right, but my old folks who came from the old country, their line was much more
Their line
blurry
was
about what was going to go into
than
the pot.
than the American cultural, right?
I
Well,
mean, today we like to get it out of an Oscar Mayer wrapper in the grocery section. Back then, they just got wherever.
well,
it
when
could.
you're hungry enough, right? There
My
is that.
grandmother said she lived in Detroit during the Depression, and she said that her butcher always had meat. Couldn't say where it came from or what it was, and she
Hmm.
was pretty sure they were eating a horse. But
But at that point, there was something,
right.
right? She wasn't positive. She wasn't right. So it's really a little interesting in some of that because different countries, different cultures, different things.
But the
But
other
I
part
think
of some of this, where we had a couple of years ago, there was a mountain lion that killed some woman who was hiking in the mountains in
California,
California, and the woman had two kids, and
mountain lion had two cubs.
yeah, and so they both got these, what is that, where they put the money,
GoFundMe.
the GoFundMe for, and the mountain lion cubs got like 7 times more money than what
Correct.
the
The
children
the
got.
children got, and that's sort of where we are with this. And so there's this thing where the media's picking sides, people are picking sides. There's so much stuff and information and disinformation and um, you
Well,
know,
but think about this information, the information, stories people have heard or they think they heard, or someone is just
right?
trying to be funny. All fits into that. Where is what's hog conversation about Trump? Is it actually what he said? Is it someone's
Some
interpretation of what he said? Is how did somebody else take it versus what was actually being said? Or
hmm
I mean, sometimes I've been places where they tell off-color jokes, and if you didn't know it was a joke, it'd be totally inappropriate. But otherwise, it would be a hog conversation.
it's something. Well, it really is a little bit of a lot of this. Where right now, the media is picking sides on politics, on religion, on guns, on immigration. Those are all out there. Look at the debate. They did a fact check
you know,
on the debate,
another
and
thing I think that plays into this is most people when I was a kid, they voted, but they didn't pay attention to politics like they do today.
hmm
I think that when Obama put all of his czars in place, that turned the old people on to see that something was up because
because we didn't elect no kings,
right,
right?
when
And
we were against the Russians all the way through the 40s and 50s. So um, these czars were it was a poor choice of names,
of
brought
terminology, yeah.
the people's consciousness to this point, and so that started the tea parties. That started more people today pay attention to the vote and what's going on in politics than probably at any time in my lifetime.
hmm
And I think that probably has brought more people into politics than JFK's murder did. So,
Yeah, the assassination in what was that, 1963?
yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, it's really kind of interesting. I mean, right now, they were at the debate fact checking, and they fact checked one candidate and not the other candidate. And Kamala said that specifically that she's not taking your guns because she's a gun owner. Before she went into the debate and after she came out of the debate, she's talking about mandatory gun buyback programs, which since she didn't own them in the first place, since the government didn't own them in the first place, that kind of is taking your guns, right? Mandatory says you don't have a choice. Buyback infers that you're getting you're getting a value for it, some value for it. But think about it like this: it's eminent domain of your guns. Um, it's just a little bit of all of this where they can't buy back something they didn't own. It is confiscation with some financial repercussions.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The Locked-In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-In Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Well, the interesting piece, the true interesting piece about this attempt on Donald Trump's life is that his social media is so prepared now that he is posting a status that says, "I am safe and well, and no one in my arena was harmed." So they had to have thought this through and expect something. I mean, simply because the machine that is so large.
Well, the thing is, they're so, I don't know what you would call it. They're so much of a pain in the other guy's keister
So okay,
that
so
they
there's anger and
and you're gonna see more and more of this because the Dems, if you watch everything they do about this Project 2025, all of the um, like where he's going after the FBI and the CIA and all of the higher ups in these things, and they they can't let him take off. So between now and January, they got to do something about it.
they're gonna up the game a little more and a little more and a little more. But
But
I
did you
see.
see Melania's speech this morning where she was talking about the fact that she came from a country that you couldn't trust what was going on, and she never thought that this would be one of those places. But the FBI has raided her home. They've shot at her husband. They've done all. She listed off 8 or 10 things that would happen in a third world country, but not in America, and it's happening to her.
No, I
She
didn't
wasn't
see it.
too happy about it.
Wasn't too happy about it. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it is politics is polarizing. There is no doubt about it. And then when you start to look at specific areas of politics. So like I mean, for us, it's guns, right? It is guns, it's the Second Amendment, it's all of the aspects that go to that. And you know, I'm watching people be like, well, they're not going to do this. They said they're not going to do this. And it's like, they said something, yet they did something. Those two are completely different.
I mean, if you
And
just
you
look at what the
choose.
Supreme Court has stirred up in the last 2 years with their gun stuff, the abortion stuff, this deference for the Chevron, and how that's affected almost every little agency in the whole government. There's big changes coming, folks. Face the facts, and Trump learned a lot in his first time through. If he lives to the second time through, there's going to be a huge turnover in I was going to say Detroit, but it's going to be
In D.C. Detroit and D.C. But I agree. Did you see somewhere in the stack of stories is Thomas Massey has put. So there was a bill on the floor about
They say it has virtually no chance of
constitutional carry, national constitutional carry.
It's funny because they say, well, if Trump wins, that it might do something, but if Camilla wins, it won't. But then it goes on to say that he doesn't expect it to do anything. What he expects is for people to start thinking about it so that he can reheat it the next time around. And it's already been rolled around in people's heads, and they've thought about it. If you think about Ron Paul and his politics, that's the way he does it. He puts out a story, he talks about it. It may take 10 years before it gets to be on everybody's conversation list, but pretty soon we're all living Ron Paul's fantasy of government from the.
Because he was the laser pointer back to we were the cats, right? and so we chased it, across time zones, if you will. And I think that the National Constitutional Carry Act is another one of those. So, and I think that he did this even though there's another one out there, because one of the folks that's part of Women for Gun Rights was saying, oh well, why did he even do this? Why didn't he just sign on to the other one? And it was like, because he would have signed on to the other one, and the news would have said, ho hum. Right? That would have been it.
Out there at all. Here, you got
Here-
a flyer at least tells about him doing it, and
Right. Here it made the news. Here there's an article. Here
Well,
they're saying you
the
don't
thing
stand a
is-
chance, but yeah.
if you look at Bruin and all of the things that it's changing, whether it's about the 18-year-olds having guns or concealed carry or whatever. This national concealed carry. How many states have got constitutional carry now that you don't have to do any
Yeah, I
hoop
think it's
jumping?
26 or something. Yeah.
If you're legally allowed to own a gun, you can carry a gun. So a national is the next step. I mean,
Hmm.
we're so used to your driver's license being good in every state. Why wouldn't your concealed carry permit be good? Um, but there's also, I mean, we're seeing in the news things about machine guns and different things, short-barreled rifles, all the stuff that was almost a taboo subject. We wouldn't have talked about any of it 10 years ago,
Right.
and it's getting to be more and more mainstream. And there's changes, big changes coming for all that stuff. And I mean, a machine gun's not for everyone. But most people couldn't afford to feed one if they had one,
Right.
and
And
they are
somebody,
kind of pricey.
you may want to shoot one, but that would be it. Kind of like owning a race car. You want to ride in one or drive one,
Right.
but once.
But even
And then
if
you're like, okay.
even if you have one, you don't always run it as a machine gun because it's expensive
It's-
and it's hard on it too. So
Well, all of that, but it's sort of like there's just things that it's like I would like to do this in my
but I
lifetime,
think
but
a lot
not.
of it is if you want to do it more because somebody told you no you couldn't, then if they told you yeah it was okay, then you'd be like oh go home.
Oh,
I
okay,
don't
I've
care.
done that. I mean, I guess for me, because I've shot a Mac 10, I've shot a Gatling gun, I've shot, so I've done, I've shot a couple other full auto stuff, um, and it's kind of cool. But you're right. I mean, to me, there's a spot where okay, now it makes my teeth hurt, 'cause
And it's kind of funny. I mean, when you think about it, some of the old timers they would say only accurate guns are interesting, which in reality is the truth. I mean,
you're right, yeah.
if you can't hit nothing with it, what it isn't any fun to
No,
play with.
you're
So,
just kind of out there making noise, and it's might as well have fireworks. It's the same kind of noise and
but things are
flash.
changing on multiple fronts, and some people don't pay attention to any of it, so they just change the channel when the news comes on and live their life. But we're in for big changes.
And it's really interesting. There's going to be a couple new cases that are going to the Supreme Court. We'll see which ones they pick up. We'll be back right after this.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seppacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The Locked-In Grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-In Grip Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit LockedInGrip.com. That is LockedInGrip.com to purchase your Liquid Shooting Sports Chalk now.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Okay, so we're back. So Rob is having, so if you're watching this via YouTube or one of the video things, there's a slideshow that shows just a wide variety of places that we've been, things that we've done, and somebody at one point was being sarcastic and intended to be mean, and they're like, just go away. Don't you have a government building to take a picture in your picture in front of? And Rob thought that was the funniest insult that he had ever heard in his life. And so periodically when he sees a picture where we're in front of the Supreme Court building or in front of the Capitol or or standing there talking
to makes me have to laugh. That's all it is.
Standing and talking to somebody. It's pretty funny, but gun rights, that battle has to be fought in DC. It can't just be, oh well, I went to the gun shop, I bought a gun, and that's that. The battle has to be fought in your state capital, has to be fought with your state reps and your county commissioners and your state senators, and then on a national level, you have to see and be seen that it matters to you, because if you don't make that effort, they don't
and
think
the other
that there's...
part is we all need to stick together, because you'll see where the hunters don't care what the 50 caliber shooters say or what the Olympic shooters say, or the trap shooters don't care about the handguns or hunting rifles or something.
So we all do have to stick together. So one of our listeners has just published the Capitol Switchboard, which can connect you to any and every federal office. So if you have a desire to call your elected official. You can call them easy by calling 202 224 3121 and just ask for whoever it is you want. Call Thomas Massey and say you go with the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity. Call your state senator, your state congressman, and tell them to support it. Those types of things. It's like for every person who calls or writes, they know that there's at minimum 100 people that feel that way. For every person who picks up, who shows up somewhere, they know that there's at least 1,000 people who feel that way. So the more effort that you expend, the more they actually hear you, because their goal is to represent you, and if they don't represent you well, they don't get elected. They don't get reelected. So their goal really is to represent you. And because the bottom line, their goal is they're having a high old time at the Capitol and they want to go back. So there is that. So let's talk a little. What?
Just a high old time at the Capitol.
Well, what are you supposed to say? That's where it is. That's what they're doing. Pittman Robertson. Pittman Robertson money is money that in 1937 the sportsmen and women, the gun owners, the fishermen, that kind of thing, all volunteered to pay an excise tax, which is unlike the excise tax that California volunteered you for. But this is a voluntary excise tax on guns and ammunition and that, to buy land, to build ranges, to support the outdoor sportsman kind of lifestyle. Well, the interesting part is if you wanted to build a range, then you had to work with your state, and there was money in a wildlife restoration trust fund, but you had to go to your state. You or the state had to raise 25% of whatever the overall cost
Remember,
was.
folks, this was all top secret. They weren't going to tell you about this, but if you knew about it,
If you
could
knew about it.
access it.
Well, you had to go to your state. You had to come up with 25%. So if you said that a range was going to cost you $1 million or $5 million, or let's just go to, we'll make it easy, $4 million. You had to raise $1 million yourself and then apply for the Wildlife Restoration Trust Fund for the other 75%. And then you had to, once they granted it to you, you had to be ready to rock and roll and move and spend it all and have a finished product in 2 years.
Okay, so now they've changed the thing. So using your same $4 million, let's hear the math on that.
So now you only have to raise 400,000.
Okay, I want to make sure your head was working out.
Okay, I can do 10% of $4 million.
So they'll match up to 90% now. So,
Right. So now instead of $1 million, you have to raise 400,000 for your $4 million match, right? And you have 5 years to spend it. So both of those things are absolutely good for the sportsman, because frankly, once you get to a spot where you're trying to put this all together, think about it. You're building you've got a.
The worst part of the whole thing is that you want to build this range, and your $4 million range, how much of that money is used up in government red tape because somebody doesn't want you to make that range? So
you're going to have to test this, and you're going to have to look
right,
for
so they're going to look at how you're affecting the owls and
the condors
and
and field mice,
the water content, and every other thing about it. So you're going to spend most of your money just in digging holes and looking at the sun.
So our video producer says, "Do I think that he could build a range for $500?" So which means he may have $1.25, right? that he's ready to roll with. But yeah, so it's just, but it's interesting. But so this change has happened, and it's a change for the good. So Pittman Robertson is a good thing. This change is a good thing. Sportsmen.
Well, and they've been setting records on how many guns they've been selling for the last 10 years or more.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm sure Pittman Robertson's been setting some records itself.
Some absolute, yeah. So they're saying that, yeah, right now that their apportionment has hovered around $1 billion annually that's available to be used. $1 billion, which is pretty cool. But there's other stuff that you can do with it. If you are someone who is interested in teaching the youth or hosting a fishing day or step outside or any of those kinds of things, there are grants available through, and you have to check your state to see who gets your money. Who is the deciding
Usually
factor.
it's the Department of Natural Resources, whoever that may be, but you need
It's
to check
in
into
some
it.
states it's a little different, but that's a great place to start. But it is the 1937 Pittman Robertson Act, and so they call it Pittman Robertson Funds, because the creative name was, here's the act, here's the funds, here's the name, here's where that is. But so just in case you wanted to build a range, I'm thinking that that's a big
Well, and the
undertaking.
thing is with in the modern age, is we're selling more guns every day, and more people are getting into shooting. Especially if we do get a national concealed carry or reciprocity type thing or something, that's going to be more shooters that need a place to go to. So we're going to need more ranges, and this is going.
Well, remember when we tried to open a training center and put an indoor range in at a there was a plaza that had a bank, and then the bank moved out. It was perfect size and shape to do all that, and we were told, nope, there is no setting off gunfire, even at an indoor range, in
inside of their city limits.
inside the city limits. And then we went and found a second place, and they were like, you can have a training center here, but you can't have a range. And you can have this training center, but you're allowed to have cumulatively less than 50 rounds of ammo at any one time. And Rob looked at me, and I looked at him, and we're like, we got more than that in the car right now. So that didn't go so good either. Sometimes I just feel misunderstood. Unappreciated, but misunderstood.
But that's the thing, is there's a lot of things that are stacked against you. But as everything gets more popular, it makes it a little easier. But we're seeing, wasn't all that long ago, we had a range that had been in our area for a long time. They were on the air with us. They changed the name of the range, and the city's going after them because they make too much noise or something.
Right.
It's
So when they changed owners, then the city was like, oh, that's not grandfathered in anymore. And they're absolutely being torn up. So.
Yep. So that's the thing, is if you've been there for 80 years, whether you change the name or not, it's nothing else has changed. It's the same noise, the same hours, the same everything.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, and they had some reason for changing the name, but it took me a while to kind of keep track of what they changed the name to. But then when I heard the joke about there is such a thing as silly putty, so there's such a thing as serious putty. What do you call that?
Right, C4.
C4.
But
That's
it's still, I mean, if you got something that had a name for 80 years, why change it?
Why change it?
Your
We'll
front
be back.
door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The locked-in grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-in grip liquid shooting sports chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit lockedingrip.com. That is lockedingrip.com to purchase your liquid shooting sports chalk now.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, so Columbus, Ohio, yesterday, and we don't have the details yet, but yesterday they held a gun buyback program in downtown Columbus, Ohio, and the city is prepared to give out $100,000 in cash gift cards for guns, $100,000, and so the interesting part is there's a couple of things to it, but one is, again, they're not buybacks because the government can't buy something back that they didn't own in the first place. But who is funding this? So this is the city's anonymous gun buyback event. So
and then it's no ID required.
Right.
So they don't ask any questions.
They're not going to ask any questions. So which means that.
So it could be anybody's gun that you're selling back.
Well, can I borrow your gun? I'm going to Columbus, right? Right? Oh, and then it would be like, I lost it, right?
We're going to a gun thing.
I'm going to a gun thing. Can I borrow your gun? Right? But no, so in 2023, they also held this. So they held it as an annual thing. 344 guns were collected, and they averaged $400 per gun. But they will give up to $750 for a gun. So I want to know, who's the appraiser? Who decides what they're worth? I mean, because if you are of the caliber of Guns Are Icky, what do you really know about them? Right? So
maybe it's just how much it looks like an AR-15.
Is it the scarier looking?
Black and scary, then it's big money.
Then we want there you go. So that would be, maybe you could make it big black and scary, and then you could double your money on it. So it's crazy to me. But the question really is the is the city of Columbus paying this? Is this money that could be going to pay for police officers or first responders or EMT or fixing the roads or, you know,
Any one of those things that the city's supposed to be doing?
right, as opposed to getting involved in a political opinion
Well,
on
the other
something
part of
that's
this is that when
constitutional.
there's no questions asked, and like I say, they're more than likely they don't have a real appraisal. Well, how many good historical pieces are destroyed in some of this stuff?
You know that I have never gotten over the fact that Sammy Davis Jr.'s gun went to California and got destroyed because they said that it didn't have any significant historical value.
Right. Well, that's the thing. There's some guns out there that have significant historical value that no one knows where they're at. So
Well, I just know that the NRA Museum tried to buy Sammy Davis Jr.'s gun. So a museum tried to buy it, and they said, no, it doesn't have. Why would you want it? It doesn't have significant historical value. When the museum decides that it has value,
right.
then I think that they are the boss of you. I think that they do get to make the statement and make it stick and make it work, right? It's just interesting to me, but I want to know who's funding it. I want to know where the money come from. I want to follow the money. I want to follow the trail, right?
Well, that's the thing. There's definitely some weird guns out there you might luck out and find in a yard sale or somewhere that you're not looking, you wouldn't be looking for, and all of a sudden there they are. So
And there they are. Oop, there. Look at that. Would you look at that?
somewhere, George Luger had like a baby Luger built. It's got
Okay.
his initials on the thing, and they know he had it, but they don't know where it went to. So one likely one of the greatest generation brought it home from the war as a souvenir. So Grandpa's got it in a dresser drawer or something somewhere. It's conservatively probably worth $1.5 million or something.
Wouldn't that be?
Hitler had two Walter pistols, a 25 and a 32, both engraved and done special for him. They only know where one of them is. The Russians have one that he used to kill himself. They have no idea where the other
Where
gun's
the other
at.
one went.
And
Again, historical. You know, whether you like the person or not, historical value
right.
to these, and they will
that's
pop up
just,
somewhere.
That's just two guns right off the top of my head. The government has showed some interest in the Luger when the 1911 pistol was adopted. The Luger sent three Luger 45s over to be tested. One was destroyed in the testing, and the other two, no one knows where they went to. And people say, well, it's a hoax, nobody knows it. But Roy Jenks says when he was a kid, he wanted a 45, and his dad brought it from a Luger that he didn't want. He says that wasn't a 45, and so he traded in at a gun shop in New Jersey that's long since gone. If it wasn't that Jenks himself owned this Luger,
You wouldn't have believed that it
Wouldn't believe
existed,
it.
but he knows what it is. He knows what the thing is. But he's like, yeah, I didn't really want that. It wasn't.
as a teenager, it wasn't the 45 he wanted. He wanted a regular government issue gun. So
Not this experimental whatever this thing is.
Right.
So okay, so tell folks who Jinx is.
He's Smith and Wesson's historian. So if you call Smith and Wesson's thing, that's the guy who answers the phone, and he
The
can,
1-800 line to say I've got something of
I wanna,
significant
I wanna-
historical
I wanna
value.
Look at this. I have an old gun. I want a serial number, and can you tell me who shipped it to or whatever, and he can tell you that stuff. So I had bought a Schofield number. It looks like a number 3, but it was a Schofield serial number 700, and I called, and right away he didn't have to look anything up. He could just tell me that it was it went in it was in this government lot that went out, and then it was brought back and sold to Graham and Hartley in Connecticut or in Cincinnati after the government was done with it.
Okay, and you're like, okay, well, you go. It's pretty funny the things that stick in people's minds or who they are and what they are. So when they speak, I mean, when they speak, then people, you don't question it or doubt it because they've got the pedigree, they've got the provenance. So the fact that they have seen it, touched it, all of
Right,
that
and
is just kind of cool.
some people specialize in one thing, so if they don't know it, it's not known.
It's not worth knowing if they don't know it.
Or
Right?
it's just it's so obscure. The Japanese rifles during the war, they were so cheesy looking
Mm-hmm.
that we held contempt for them because the wood is trashy, the guns themselves look cheesy, and so they had no collective value. I mean, when I was a kid, you could buy them at yard sales for $10, and we used them for toy guns and everything like that because bullets were almost impossible to get a hold of at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently, they're finding there's different variations that they didn't even know existed and stuff. So
That's because you had it in the sandbox. You didn't. Well, I remember when we found that thumb trigger, the Winchester thumb trigger 22, and you're like, look at this, because I've only seen drawings. I've never seen one in real life, and so, it was. We had been. Someone had asked us to help them liquidate an estate, and so we did that and helped them and found the best place for it to go. And so that one went to the Tulsa auctions because it was so unique and so different. But then when we were holding an appraisal fair, somebody comes to the appraisal fair and they're like, "Oh yeah, we had one of those when we were a kid," and they played with it in the yard until they broke the stock on it, right? And it's like, that's two in your lifetime, right? It's not. There's not a lot of them. Not.
I mean, that's the thing. Some of that stuff it's out there, but it's so rare, and it's sitting in somebody's closet or in a dresser or something. You never know what you're gonna find.
And people don't. I mean, if you're not into that variation, you don't know that what you've got is different or unique or that.
Right.
It just is.
The old man down the street from me, he had a huge gun collection, but everything he said was junk except for he had a Weatherby rifle that he paid a lot of money for to go hunting with.
Uh-huh.
But otherwise, he had some really
Nice stuff.
Nice
We'll
stuff.
talk about it when we come back. So we'll go into a commercial break.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, welcome to hour 2 of Eye on the Target Radio with Rob and Amanda. So as we ended hour 1, you were talking about someone who had a collection that they did not believe had value, but
a lot of that stuff they bought. In the old days, you could buy it at yard sales and auctions, stuff like that, for $8 or $10. There wasn't, people didn't collect guns like they do now, and so he had some Springfield carbines from like the Indian War era. The carbine's actually a pretty rare thing. They didn't make nearly as many as they did full-size rifles, and so he just thought they were kind of junky. That he just picked up stuff over the years and he had a couple safes full, but it was only his Weatherby was his pride and joy.
had value because he paid big money for
He
it.
also had a 29 Smith that was a first year production, so it was a very early 29 that before they called him a 29, and so that also was a pretty rare piece.
So what happened to it at some point?
He died, and his kids, who knows, they traded for gift cards or something. Who knows whatever happened.
Who knows what exactly happened? Okay, got it.
I mean, we had that woman that come into the gun shop that time where she said her dad had died and her brother got all the good guns and she got the junk.
Right.
And the junk that she had was thousands and thousands of dollars worth of really cool old stuff.
But her brother had taken all the brand new stuff. So he took the stuff that he could recognize and identify, but he didn't take anything that had historical significance or,
Right, so she had some really nice, an old Beretta pistol that was in oak leaf engraved, and it was a German contract gun. She had a Winchester Model 42 trap gun, which is, they only made like 314 of them, so I would say that her stuff was better than his stuff without even seeing
without
his stuff.
whatever, because she was like, he got all the new stuff. She was disgusted with the fact that he was like, one for you, one for me, one for you, one for me. I'll take this shiny one. You can have this old cruddy one. I'll take this shiny one. So, and you were explaining to her that sometimes the old cruddy has
those are the better ones. So.
Has value, right? Yeah. There's all that, all of that. So, as we're talking about old guns, and we're talking about antiques and collectibles and all of that stuff, Australia has. I want to roll into the fact that there was a whole series of 27 firearms that were stolen out of the Lithgow Small Arms Factory Museum in Lithgow, Australia.
Well, Australia has huge gun control, so
you
they
can't get
have
them.
a hard time getting them.
Right.
So you might as well go knock over the museum if you're going to do it.
Yeah, where are they? Because they're not in common use anymore. They're not in people's hands. So we'll just go hit the museum, and that was kind of it. And so it is the premier firearms museum in Australia, and it's crazy that that it happened. They didn't recover 13 of the 27, so there's 14 of them free ranging still out there in a country that does not have guns.
Well, they said that they were easily converted back to shooting condition, so it's probably as easily as putting bullets in it if you could find some.
Right, easily converted means maybe it was missing a firing pin, but in all probability it just
needed bullets.
Right, because if it's in a museum, they are not going to
break it intentionally.
Right, they're not going to take it apart. They're not going to break it. They're not going to.
They're planning on it just sitting on a shelf and never doing anything anyhow, so they don't need to disassemble it.
Right. So, they're not going to do that. But there you go. So, so what do you have else to talk about? Or am I going to talk about...
well, Hawaii's back in the news. They love gun people in Hawaii. It's the aloha feeling or whatever.
Oh, yeah, they said that it wasn't... that guns did not give them the aloha spirit,
so
right?
Anyhow, in Hawaii, they have a guy who has Christopher Chan. He has a short-barreled rifle and a machine gun, and Hawaii finds offense with that. So
Right, because they have to be registered under the NFA, 1934 Gun Control Act.
and if they were built after 1986, they can't be registered anyhow. So, but they're saying that he doesn't, that they don't classify as being covered under the Second Amendment because they're cruel and unusual or something like that.
Yeah, claiming that neither the short-barreled rifle or the machine gun falls within the scope of the Second Amendment's protection.
Right, because they're not in common use and
They're dangerous and unusual.
right.
Well, okay, so let's go into a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Well,
Where do you see dangerous, unusual, and in common use in that?
And like I say, right now they're using this military stuff as a reason why you shouldn't be allowed to have it.
Right.
And so the short-barreled rifle, machine gun. But in Miller versus the U.S. government, 1939, Miller failed due to the fact that his gun had no military. Use at that point.
So is it a military weapon? Is it not a military weapon? Do you want it to be a military weapon? Should it be a military?
It's funny, is Miller had a sawed-off shotgun, and today the military uses a lot of sawed-off shotguns. In 1939, they had riot guns with 20-inch barrels, but that wasn't really like these 14-inch entry guns that they're using today. But for them to say in one line of the law where it's got to be military grade, and the other part where it can't be military grade, so it's
you almost want to say to the
Supreme Court's going to have to.
They're going to have
what the rules here are.
But they're going to say, is it military grade? And you're going to look at them and say, do you want it to be or do you want it not to be? What's the correct answer?
Right. I mean, and that's the kind of thing is even like the military used a lot of Mossberg 500 shotguns, and I mean early on the Mossberg had aluminum trigger guard and aluminum safety and buttons and so forth. Later on, to keep the price down, they went to a like an injection molded plastic for the trigger guard and all that stuff. And so on the military grade stuff, they still use the aluminum.
Okay.
But otherwise, that's the only difference between the military and the civilian grade guns.
There you go, military grade aluminum.
But it's but that's the thing is they wanted a metal versus.
George Geller says the dangerous and unusual applies to all of his ex-wives. So, I mean, there is that. It's like, do you want them to be or don't?
There's a lot of things too when they're talking about like importing, and they say modern sporting purpose and all this stuff. So like the Spaz shotgun was banned from importation because they said it wasn't
it didn't have a sporting purpose.
So right away, the sporting purpose guys built a game to play with sawed-off shotguns, so it worked out.
Right, but there's just again, there's a spot where there's 27 words. Those 27 words did not have in common use, dangerous and unusual, sporting purpose, military grade. None of those are in there. None of those words. So how can they just keep making things up? Here's another hurdle. Jump over this one. Oh, wait, let me give you a sporting purpose hurdle. No, let me give you the military hurdle.
Well, the funny part is part of the reason why we won the Revolutionary War is the fact that our riflemen had much larger range than what their standard military musket at the time had. So we had better quality guns than what the military was using at that time. And it's so they just want something different to try to draw a line so that we know that you can't have that.
The thing is that the answer is I don't want you to have it. So what would be the excuse that? I mean, because it's almost the parental because I said so, right? It's the judicial because I said so, and that's what that's the path they're going down.
It's funny that back in the black powder days, over in England, this Whitworth was looking for. He had a government contract to find out what was the most accurate rifle and stuff, and so he made different rifle barrels, and they were 5-sided hexagon or whatever
Pentagon.
Pentagon style bullets, and then each barrel was made with a different twist rate, so that he could test out like what was the best. And it turned out like 1 in 66 inches was the best twist rate for it.
Okay.
But he went to such a thing that he built a greenhouse that was like a mile long, so that he could shoot inside of it, so that the wind didn't.
The
affect
wind,
it.
nothing else affected it because he's trying to be scientific, and that makes it's sort of like the guy with the sheet and the drop. But
Right.
there's
So he made this mile-long greenhouse to shoot in.
to shoot in. So we'll be back right after these messages.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seppacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The locked-in grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-in grip liquid shooting sports chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit lockedingrip.com. That is lockedingrip.com to purchase your liquid shooting sports chalk now.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, so in doing research for today's show, this article came to just attracted my attention based on the headline. Details of a 22 pistol defense failure against a polar bear in Norway. And
Well, they used to always say, bring enough gun.
right, I just want to say a 22 pistol against a polar bear. Who thought that that was a good idea in the first place?
It's better than a plastic spoon, but not much.
Obviously, in this case, it wasn't. The spoon would have had exactly the same amount of.
If you stopped for a second and shot for an eyeball, you might have done all right. But
Right.
if you just shoot for a whole bear, there's a lot
of bear
that he doesn't use for anything really.
Right. So they estimate the bear was about 1,000 pounds of bear, and with a 22 pistol. The interesting part about this whole story is the fact that they had been on the men who were subsequently, one was severely wounded and one was killed. They had been on a ship, and they got off the ship, and they were crew members, and they were on this tour, and they were going around on this tour. They had plenty of firepower on the ship. They had plenty of guns with stopping power on the ship, but in their infinite wisdom, they brought a flare gun and a 22. If you're walking someplace where something is likely to eat you, and you think that you're going to need a gun, enough that you reach for a gun to take a gun, you probably ought to take enough gun to be a gun, because a 22 in this aspect pretends to be a gun.
I remember the old days when Spencer Tracy was out after the giant ants and stuff, and even his Tommy gun wasn't no match for him.
Was it? I'm thinking that this wants to eat you, and then and so I was like, man, I gotta go through this. So Dean Weingarten, for some reason, he's a really good writer, and he's on this kick lately of researching bear attacks and defensive shooting
Maybe
against
he's planning
bears.
on going to bear country or something.
Maybe, but he's doing a serious amount of research about bear attacks and comparing them and looking at them and trying to decide how do you stop them and what do you use and all of this. In this case, these guys knew that they were in trouble, and the bear is gnawing on the one of them, and he had the gun, so he throws it to his friend who needs to catch it and shoot the bear while it's gnawing on the first guy. And then the bear turns his attention to the shooter, so the shooter throws the gun to the wounded guy to shoot the bear. I'm like, stick the gun in his mouth if he's gnawing on you and go, right? I don't know. It's just, you're probably close enough at that point that if he's chewing on you, you could probably get a point blank with your tiny little gun. Not that I want to go someplace where something's going to eat me, and if they want to, I think I want more gun than a 22. I'm just kind of going through this going, if I were in this circumstance, what would I do?
You wouldn't have gotten in that first circumstance.
I wouldn't have taken a 22. If not, you're going to do the thing where, okay, then you pull the flare gun and you fire it in his mouth where he's chewing on you, right? That should make a little more of a bang.
Like, this one's spicy.
Spicy. Something. I don't know. I'm just, sometimes, I read these things and I try
Maybe
very
that's
hard.
why you should carry ghost peppers in your pocket or something.
Right. Well, you know how they say that thing about the bears? They'll stay away from you if you have little bells, and right. Except for this kind of bear, and that bear will eat you. And the way you can tell is their scat has little bells in it, right? That's kind of the place that I'm at with this. But I try to read these and go, if this were me, what would I have done? What would I have done differently? How would I change it? What was the modification?
Well, a lot of this is slow down and make your shots count. So if you shoot for the eyes, it's soft going that way. Or if you can get to an ear hole, it's soft getting into that.
Right,
point.
as opposed to
But
then
just
hitting.
shooting at this armored plate of a head that they're wearing, it doesn't do you much good.
Yeah, and in Dean's thing, he's like the brain is about a quart size inside a 2.5 gallon bucket. So
But you
finding
can
it,
access it through the ear hole or through an eye.
yeah, I just you're reading the whole thing and you're like, okay, and would you, if they're gnawing on you, would you toss your only means of defense to someone else in hopes that they can stop them?
I would have already been out of bullets before he got to where he was biting me.
There.
Then I'd be using that as a hammer.
And yeah, and that burnt fur smell from the flare gun, it would be like, oh, when the lighter goes and then your
they find
fangs.
them up in Alaska and that where they, the guy's got a 7mm Magnum rifle. He's shot multiple shots and the bear ate the gun and the guy. So sometimes they're
Sometimes the odds are just.
they're a little more determined than you give them credit for.
Sometimes the odds are against you. But the headline. I mean, think about this, because a lot of times, somebody writes a story and somebody else writes the headline. 22 pistol defense failure against a polar bear. Yeah, I would. Not surprising. I would not be surprised by the outcome of taking a 22 to a polar bear fight. There you go. I don't know. So when Ruger came out with their Alaskan, isn't it like a giant caliber?
It's 454 Casol, and then it just had a short barrel on it so that you could still work and do things with it.
Right. It's just like all boom with very little weight.
A pocket bazooka.
Pocket bazooka. That's what I thought.
But if you got the room, a shotgun with slugs is probably your best choice. It's got the most power and the most usability of the whole thing.
So is that, on something like that, is that where you carry it on a sling over your shoulder, or what do you?
Right, like or you can put it in a little basket, like Robin Hood puts his arrows in his quiver. You could have your
little basket with your little shotgun. Got it. You could. I don't know. I'm not.
A little short sling that's pulled up tight that you can pull off makes it the most sense. That way it stays
with
it's tight
you.
Against you can move and work and run and jump and do everything you need to do. And then by either releasing it or pulling it, you can get it off to use it.
And it doesn't get caught up in the brush. So we'll be back right after this.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Are you interested in firearms? Are you looking for a resource to help you understand guns? Trying to help someone who's new to the world of shooting? Hi, I'm John Petrolino, 2A writer and the author of Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive book with 266 pages of information. Want to learn more? Visit thepenpatriot.com or get yours today on Amazon in paperback or Kindle.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The locked-in grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-in grip liquid shooting sports chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit lockedingrip.com. That is lockedingrip.com to purchase your liquid shooting sports chalk now.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the backseat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, so we've been talking about Pittman Robertson money. We've been talking about California. We've been talking all about stuff, but there has been this battle between Attorney General Rob Bonta and the U.S. District Judge Robert Benitez. And so those two have been Second Amendment duking it out for quite a while. And you watch what Bonta tries to do, and then Benita goes checkmate.
Well, Bonta had put in a background check that he was charging for buying guns and ammunition, and I think he was charging I don't know what it was.
So it says so
$1
there was $1
for ammunition, but I don't know what it was
Yeah.
for the gun. But anyhow, it went to court, and they found it unconstitutional. So he's come back and reheated it and decided that they weren't making enough money at $1 to pay their cost of doing the background checks. So
Right.
he's raising the price to $5.
$5. So it's unconstitutional, but we're just going to make it 5 times more money. Unconstitutional. Is there? Do you guys see something broken in this? I mean,
So anyhow, he's just setting it up so Benitez can slap him around a little bit more. But
Right.
all that takes time. So I mean, how many $5 are you going to collect in the thing? And they said too that part of the law was you couldn't buy ammunition outside of California. So like they said specifically, there was a town called Needles, and it's 140 miles from Needles to the closest gun shop, where they could go 11 miles over the line into Arizona and buy stuff, but they're not allowed to.
they're not allowed to because because they're not allowed to bring it in to the thing. So you got to drive, yeah, hours, hours, hours. So so it'll be Benitez will nail him, but your point is a very valid point that the wheels of justice turn slowly.
Right, so they can make outlandish statements and do things, and you're kind of trapped inside of that until such time as it gets to a court. And some of them they can delay for years on when it gets there, or if it does get there, and they say something, then they put a stay on it or something until it goes to the next court,
And they're like,
it
oh,
could give
okay. You know, because most of us who live in free America, you're concealed carry. You know, maybe you you take a class, maybe it's $100, you know, that kind of a thing. You go get your license, it's another $50, and you're good. California, it's more than $1,000 to get your concealed carry license to apply for it, and they're looking for every reason why you're not worthy, you're not capable, you're not allowed, you're
Yeah.
not.
I mean, here in Ohio, years ago, they made it to where you had to sign for ammunition if it would fit a pistol. I mean, even if you were using it on a rifle, you had to sign for it. And then they got to where if you was pistol ammo, but you were using it in a rifle, then all you had to do was just tell them, and then you didn't bother collecting the signature. Then they finally did away with that
They
altogether.
just did it because they were like, this is
Confusing
stupid.
for one thing, and
Right. None of this legitimately is making the world safer.
well, the thing is if you buy a 22 bullets, they're not marked or anything, so there's no way to tell which box they came out of or who
But
bought them.
what
or,
was the end goal purpose to something to track who's buying ammo? So who's going to the range?
to
Who's
inconvenience people to
Right.
the point where they wouldn't bother to buy ammo?
your name's on a list? Do you want your name on a list?
I think a lot of it's like if you go to buy cold tablets now, you gotta go jump through some hoops because somebody misused it or whatever,
Right,
and
but
now they're trying
so-
to make it.
So do you
better.
have to go talk to the pharmacist and I don't know, sign something, whatever. And how does
Kinda
that?
like when you was a kid and you had to get a note from your mom so you stay at home from school or something, right?
I don't know. I can't say when the last time.
60 years old, I don't need a note from my mom anymore.
I know, but have you had to go to the pharmacist and buy it, or do you just buy the low dose stuff that's on the shelf and take two?
I don't. I've switched to a different brand of junk that they don't. That apparently the drug addicts don't like or something.
Something. It doesn't. Yeah, because I'm like, I'm not going to the pharmacist and asking. So,
So
yeah.
it's effectively cut the sales of that stuff by a lot because nobody's bothering to go ask for it.
Nobody's asking for it because I don't know that I'm supposed to ask for it, right? I don't know which one works the best. So, none of that. Absolutely none of that. Okay, so what else you got?
Well, there's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
Georgia's trying to wind their way through some new law changes or proposed law changes about gun safety after the school shooting.
The school shooting in Georgia that happened a week ago. And
It's one thing they said. This headline is about a GOP leader who proposes some gun safety thing. The other one is about where they went to a group of people, a focus group, and asked them about what kind of things they thought would make schools safe. So they're saying that parental accountability and mental health treatment is necessary in the schools, and so there again is who
Right.
you want telling you that you're nuts or not.
well, I think that there is that, right?
Thing is, you ask your brother if you're nuts, you're nuts. You ask your ex-wife if you're nuts, you're nuts.
You're nuts. So right. So here's really the thing. That has fallen off the radar. That 4 people are dead, and that school shooting fell off the radar. Do you want to guess why it fell off the radar?
It's hard to tell, but there's a lot of things. The president getting his ear pierced by the shooter, that kind of fell off the radar right away too.
Well,
I mean, we're still talking about Kennedy 65 years later, but we haven't.
This guy is still alive. They arrested his father, so he and his father are both in jail, right? But nobody's talking about it. So he's got some mental health issues. The FBI showed up at the parents' house a year ago saying that the kid was making threats about shooting people, and then directly after that, for Christmas that year, the dad decided to buy the kid a gun. So there's that. They're saying they're saying that it fell off the radar because he doesn't fit the mold that they can blame. And so it is all about the blame game. And so who is the victim of this and how
Well, it definitely looked like a white guy from a dysfunctional family. If you looked at any of it, I mean, the mom was a drug addict. The dad was, who knows what his issue is, but it's,
yeah,
he too was not a deep thinker.
There was some of that. Reports then say that the kid was part of the LGBT community. So they're all of a sudden they're conflicted because he's a white dude, so go after him. But he's a member of the LGBTQ community, so leave him alone. So and something won, and it so wherever you are in this, think about the fact that why does one story get legs and the next one not? Who decides that the four people who died were not worthy of talking about more?
And big stories go away fast, like the president shooter. Or have you heard anything about this guy that down in Kentucky on I-75 was shooting people on the highway or whatever?
No, it went away.
He was hiding out in the woods. They were searching for him. That's the last you heard of it.
Right. So again, but you start to look at this and it's like what and how. But I sincerely hope that we as Americans take a look at the whys. And I was reading an article and they had asked a focus group of teenagers why these are happening, and they're like, look, these kids want to be heard. They want attention, and they think that this is the way to get attention, and that we as a society are not paying attention to our children. And that's a piece of it. And I thought, that absolutely is something, because I see so many parents who are like, here's a cell phone, here's a videotape, go watch this movie, Blue's Clues is on or whatever. And instead of the interactions of what happened at school today, how did what's going on here, or let's go for a drive. I mean, you do this thing with your kids, or did this thing with your kids. Your kids are now grown up. Now it's grandkids' turn. That says, okay, we're going to go somewhere. We're going to go to the store. We're going to go wherever. You guys direct, not drive, but direct. Where are we turning? What are we doing? How are we figuring out the roads?
Sometimes we'd be lost for a couple hours, but it was like, turn here. Like, okay, where are we going? It was like, down the road, turn this way. And it was funny because one time my sister's boy was with us, and he wanted to drive. So he told us where to go. We were going to this sort of regular store that everybody knew where it was at.
He didn't know where
it was.
He had no clue. And your kids could get you there then at that point. So we'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Have you ever lost that perfect grip after shooting multiple rounds or had your sweaty grip diminish the ability to hang on to your firearm in different weather conditions? The locked-in grip is a grip enhancer that keeps your hands free of moisture to create a slip-free connection to the action of shooting your firearm. Locked-in grip liquid shooting sports chalk is made for shooters by shooters. Visit lockedingrip.com. That is lockedingrip.com to purchase your liquid shooting sports chalk now.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, so we're back. So what do you? One of the things that I was looking at for stories that is kind of interesting and rolling out is that I've got a friend who's in Missouri, and she's a pro Second Amendment gal who has been talking very much about public transportation and saying, if you're in a state with concealed carry, in constitutional carry, then should not the people who are using public transportation be able to carry in there? And there's restrictions on it that are causing, so if you don't own a car, so if you rely on public transportation, if you work in the city, if there's no place to park, you are defenseless, because they don't want your kind on their bus or on their transit or on their whatever. And so there's just more and more of this. So let's see. So anyhow, so there's a conversation about Chicago or about Illinois talking about public transportation and how they're saying that it's not breathtaking, jaw-dropping, or eye-popping enough to be able to defend public transportation.
I think in this, Bruin is also going to say that there wasn't no kind of standing in this before.
Right.
Since it's public transportation and anybody can get on it, then
Then they shouldn't be able to make it
if it belongs to a taxi company or something and they want to have a rule like that, that's a private company. That's different.
right. So they're trying to. It's like, is it a sensitive place or is it not? If everybody can get on there, good guys and bad guys, how or why should America be disarmed in public transit? Besides that, who pays for it? Whose money is used to create public transit? It probably isn't the city's money. It is the public's.
The city
money.
doesn't have a job, so they usually end up
Yeah.
using the people money that's coming
Right.
into town.
Right. Right. So it's not a good. Bruin cannot solve these problems fast enough. They cannot, and it needs to be
That thing
moving.
is, you think about there's a pretty good sized group of people that's working against Bruin. I mean, they're trying everything they can to
Oh.
come up with a reason why
You can't
the
do this, or you can't.
historical text or tradition is.
Oh, they're researching stuff.
And they're going back to the 12th century in England to
gonna
try to come
say,
up with
and
some rules for some of this stuff. And
Yeah, the whole all I can think of when they come up with these 12th century things is a girlfriend of mine who was saying that she was trying to diet, and she's like, she's of English heritage, and her system says to her, "Don't worry about it, darling. If we're on if food is short, that's okay. We'll just pull up the genetics and keep you plump as a partridge," right? I mean, and it was like, it's just hereditary, and I don't know. That just cracked me up. So when I hear 14, 16, 1600s in that, all I can think of is, well, plump as a partridge, or eating a partridge, or shooting a partridge, or, yeah, all that. Anyhow. Aren't you scared about how my brain works? That's all I got to say about that. But plump as a partridge. Huh? Just saying. It's just, things come into my head and they just have to go. Got it. Are you seeing the NRA board members that are looking at running for the board by petition? There is a bunch of them.
well, I just seen John Richardson had sent out a thing saying that he was wanting to have petitions signed and stuff. So if you're an NRA member and a life member or a 5-year member, you can sign these petitions. And
So you can go to the blog Only Guns and Money, and John has not only his, but he has a variety of others. But what's happened is the nominating committee has nominated a group of people, and the peasants are revolting, and they're saying, wait, there's two paths to being able to be on the board of directors, and one of them is you're nominated, and so you're there. The other is to get there by petition.
I think the nominating committee is still being run by the old people who don't want the NRA to be open.
We don't want your kind.
To the new
Something.
thought patterns of the New York courts or whatever.
It kind of looks that way, you know? I mean, and I'm not saying it is a board, it is a working board. You look deep inside yourself to say, do you have skills and value that you can impart to a board to help run a $300 million company? If you're like, oh, well, I own guns and I go to Friends of NRA banquets, it's probably going to be very hard for you to find a niche, find a spot, find a place. But if you have management skills or accounting skills or problem-solving skills,
and I think that the board of today versus the board of 10 years ago is
Right.
two different boards. So there's back in that day, name recognition got you where you wanted to be, and nobody expected anything out of you because the board ran itself because they didn't really ask any questions.
Right. Now there is a lot of work that has to be done. And so, but there are people running, and so I believe that AmmoLand has an article, and I know that Only Guns and Money has a blog that has it. But look at that, because what happens is after the annual meeting, after the big events happen, then to get on by nomination, you have to start gathering signatures, and you need 450 signatures of life members or 5-year members to be able to do this. And 450 signatures doesn't sound like a lot until you add that life membership criteria to it. Now you've got to go find them.
Right, but a lot of times if you find one,
You find a couple.
they know 3 others. So.
Right. So it always reminds me of like Horton Hears the Who. You know, they're looking for all the Who's down in Whoville. And so you're trying to search them out and find them. But the deadline is pretty short also. So it has to be by the end of this month, mailed back to that person. So if you are at all interested, if you're a life member, if you're at all interested in helping someone get there, then please check that out, look for it, and sign their petition and get it back to them.
I think the more people that are in, the more choices you have to pick somebody that.
Right. Then we're going to have big conversations about reading their bios and looking for the skill sets that you believe are necessary.
And your bio needs to actually say what your skill sets are instead of I have a gun.
Well, there is that, you know. There's all that. But it's pretty interesting watching, and the NRA is changing. The NRA is in a transition period right now. The shifting. Wayne LaPierre is gone. Now Doug Hamlin is trying to pull things back.
There's a lot of things that they can be doing that would make it better for everybody.
For everybody. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot. So Montana, they just started the NRA ILA just started a $2 million ad buy to be able to help a Republican candidate for Senate take over and win Montana and the Senate race. Ohio, they're going to be doing something comparable. West Virginia, they're helping fight that fight. So the NRA ILA is back and involved. It's I am a gun owner and I vote. That campaign had legs. It had teeth. It resonated, and it met a need. And so we're talking to them about pulling that campaign back out and reawakening it, because it really had some depth to
right.
it.
I mean, when they show football players and movie stars and everything like that, you think, I want to be part of that too.
I want to be part of that team. So for me, for you, we are both. We are the NRA and we vote. We'll see you next week.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3 and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.